Hi there, I'm Air, and I use he, him.
I'm El Ninja Cupcake, she, her.
I'm Jerika, she, her. And on this episode of Insight Check, we have an amazing guest with us, NurseNormal. Nurse, you want to say hi?
Yay. Hi, I'm NurseNormal, she, her.
Nurse has a little bit of a throat thing happening.
It's to protect my anonymity.
Yes, indeed. We're changing Nurse's vocal waves so that you'll never be able to find them.
And this is Insight Check, where we plumb the dungeons of your bad decisions to retrieve the treasure of wisdom.
Because plumbing is important.
It is, it really, that's where civilization started, by getting rid of potty. Probably also fire, but...
More things from your A.
Yeah. We're on brand, people. We're on brand. So we're going to kick this thing off with a dungeon crawl. Does anyone have anything that they have thought is particularly interesting in the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons and or tabletop gaming this week?
I wanted to mention very briefly that the prompt list for D&D December is out, so go check that out on Twitter.
This is very true. Yeah, I managed to catch a peek at it yesterday. Looks like some good stuff in there.
It does look really fascinating. I want to be really selfish with my dungeon crawl. Might I introduce you in some selfish?
Yeah.
Yes. Sounds delish.
I watched this really, really cool VOD last night of these amazing, incredibly talented, and good-looking individuals on the official Wizards of the Coast D&D channel. It was called Marching Order. I believe they were doing Modrons, and it was
you were
DM'd.
there too, lady.
Yeah, it was us. It was the most of the Insight Check pod group. We did the Great Modron Marching Order for a Extra Life for Kids charity, and not only can you catch that VOD, which I'm sure we will link out to you if you haven't seen it already, but I believe, from what I've been told, donations are open until the end of the year. So if you would like to do something wonderful and donate to help some kids, it might actually even be tax deductible. Maybe. I am not an accountant. Just saying. But
check with your accountant.
Yeah.
Yes. Always a smart
Do that
thing.
Good check. Check.
No spoilers,
Anyway.
please. I worked over the weekend, so I still have to watch it.
I mean, many sillies were had. Yeah. Gasp.
I hope you like non sequiturs. And speaking of that, this
now,
isn't
Air,
one of those because I was totally going to
sequit.
Oh, okay.
Before we sequit,
I
heard, Air, that you listened to Marching Order orally through your ear holes.
I tried through other orifices, but it wasn't nearly as efficacious.
It wasn't working.
Oh,
yeah. The nose drum was not tuned.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Would you recommend that to the people?
I've always stood by this, but I now have absolute objective proof in the form of this VOD. My friends are very funny and charming. And it was a good listen. I listened to it on the way into work this morning, and I highly enjoyed it. I was laughing all over again.
You laughing all the way? Ha ha ha.
It pretty much hits its stride. You know what? I don't want to do any spoilers. When Cupcake asks, "What's the distance between the prime material plane and Mechanus?" and then asks, "What's the throwing range on the robot?" And then from there, it is just like, I feel like you all fell into your groove there. So well done,
Gotcha.
all.
Good to know that any way you choose to consume us, it's delicious. Okay, continue.
But be warned, we might go right to your hips.
Yeah, I was going to say, for mentions aside, you can find that link to our Extra Life charity page and a link to the VOD up on our Twitter in the near future, if not when this podcast drops. And my dungeon crawl is pretty straightforward. I continue listening to The Joy of the Adventure Zone, and I now know the Angus MacDonald who has been so often referenced to me, boy detective extraordinaire. Just so damn funny. I will preach from the pulpit of the McElroy brothers from here unto the end of time, because they are just some very funny boys.
Now, I must admit, after our previous chat about the Adventure Zone, I started watching it / listening to it myself. And I did start right at episode 4. And oh boy, has it been a roller coaster ride of fun and excitement and goofs.
You've been proselytized.
I sure have. And now I'm on episode 19, so there you go. So yeah, if any of you out there have a chance to just spend an hour a week or so with the good boys and their charming father, do it.
All right. We are going to talk to our extra special, awesome super guest who I'm so excited to finally get a chance to talk to with my voice sounds.
Somebody else is in here?
Yeah. It's NurseNormal. Hello, Nurse.
Hi.
I am hype.
I'm such a big fan.
Super huge fan.
It's
D&D
very kind.
artist, Acquisitions Incorporated CTeam, fan artist extraordinaire. If you have never seen NurseNormal's work, you're missing out, because it is not just beautiful, it is also evocative of the scenes in which it captures. You have an eye, Nurse, and it is a talent and a gift and something you definitely clearly work very hard at, but you bring the feels with every line and every shade, and it's so good.
It's my superpower.
Yes.
You also have quite the eye for pastries, which I appreciate.
Oh, yes. I love cake.
I mean, whoever is opposed to cake is opposed to God. So,
Whoa.
yeah,
I know,
listen,
that's quite the
That's a
statement.
bold statement.
I stand by that statement.
Wow.
No, that's all very, very generous of you guys to say. So thank you very much. I'm just a person here sitting, drawing stuff, so that the idea that it reaches so many people, affects so many people, inspires them is really, really it's devastating, but I love it all the same. So thank you.
You're so humble.
And I don't know if the listeners out there know, I'm just going to gush just a little more. The first public cosplay that I'd done was a nurse piece. So I cosplayed last PAX Unplugged, probably going to be around a year when this podcast releases, as Dole Droma from the CTeam. And I based my character design on NurseNormal's design. She had drawn the whole N team, and they were very charming. And there weren't a whole lot of Dole Droma designs out there. So I thought that, sometimes a lot of cosplay, especially with much more well-known characters, you have to kind of synthesize stuff from different designs or different editions, things like that. But I didn't think I needed to do a lot of that. And I had a lot of fun. So thanks, Nurse, for the inspiration.
You're so welcome. It was really awesome seeing, step by step of the process and seeing it all come together. Like I said, absolutely devastating. But, I really, really like seeing it all come together. Same with, I believe, Haley was cosplaying as Fen as well.
That's correct. Yep.
So you're just ridiculous. I love it. So thanks again.
Yeah.
I was in a similar boat.
That's right.
And I actually got to meet you. It was like you made my PAX. You have no idea.
Really?
When I had been like kicking around the designs for Brahma in my head for months, trying to figure out how I was going to execute it before I even started. So when I had all of these ideas that came together and you put out your picture and it kind of like fell in line, I think I squealed. I think is what happened. So
the dress was beautiful too. So I also squealed, I believe.
We should remember to link all of these things when we post this podcast.
I just wish I would have had like a picture of the moment. I feel like I saw
Somebody
you.
has a picture of the moment. I know that for sure. I will find it.
Really? It was so much fun. I'm so glad I got to meet you.
It was like super candid too. It was an awesome photo. I gotta find it.
I want to see it. I don't know if I've seen it yet or not.
Nurse,
Yes.
when did you start playing or getting interested in Dungeons and Dragons? When did that start for you?
Funny story. I've been a fan of Penny Arcade for a long time, so they are the ones that introduced D&D to me with their Acquisitions Incorporated podcast back in '08. But until PAX West this year, I didn't play at all. I was more interested in the lore and everything. So I had made an offhand remark on Twitter the days leading up to PAX, saying something like, "Oh yeah, like I've never played D&D, and that's fine. I could still be part of a community and not play. Like, that's totally cool." And I think Mike Failhour of Penny Arcade had tweeted to me saying, "Well, we could fix this." I said, "Oh, you're probably the only one who could ever get me to play anyway, so it's cool. Don't worry about it." I met him at the Acquisitions Intoxicated meetup during PAX, and we shook hands, we said hello, and then he immediately pulled out a bag of dice and he said, "Okay, are you ready?" I said,
Very good.
Oh my god.
I said, "Here at this bar, sure. Give me a drink, I'm ready." So it was
Very good.
It was just me and then 3 other shadow counselors, and we had a game of D&D right there at the bar. It was an experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. I don't know that I could get into it regularly, given how my schedule changes a whole lot. But no, it was a great experience. And then at the end, he gave me that set of dice that he brought with him. So
Oh,
just,
that's so nice.
Awesome.
every step of the way, I've encountered such kindness. So, it's been crazy.
You get what you give.
I suspect, but I'm also a little suspicious of that as well.
Healthy. Can we ask what race and class you played?
Oh, what was I? It was we were beings from like the Feywild, and so I believe I played like a pixie. It was
Very cool.
It was 2 pixies, and a unicorn.
Very cool.
It was pretty
That's
great.
awesome.
It was pretty great.
You just described Haley's dream D&D game.
Right?
The dream snare.
I also must point out that I am deeply amused that he definitely bought you a drink first.
Oh no. I got the drink myself. It's okay.
Oh, did you? Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Mike.
We bought him drinks.
Oh my goodness.
But no,
Listen.
it's fine.
Good players, they're taking care of their DM, right? Off the
Oh
top.
yeah.
I wanted to say that a while ago, several months back, there was one person in the wider D&D community who was trying to make the argument that to be part of the community, you had to play. And I was like, the first person I thought of was Nurse, because I knew that you just, I think for scheduling reasons or whatnot, didn't get a chance to play. But I was like, I can't imagine the CTeam community without you. Like, your contributions have been so critical to, like, the way I pictured these scenes playing out and these characters being defined. And I think that goes for a lot of other people, maybe even, like, many of the other players of the game itself. And in thinking of you, I got mad, and I try not to go on Twitter tirades against trolls. There's a lot of alliteration. My tongue hurts now. Oh, that's a T word too. Fuck. Anyway, suffice it to say, I went up to bat because I was like, that is absolutely not the case. I can think of several people who haven't played the game and love it more than the jerks who are trying to put them down. So thank you, Nurse. You're the best.
Yeah, you're welcome. And like, I don't mind being that example either, because I think that argument that you were talking about is absolute BS. So
Yes, it is.
you can be a baseball fan without playing baseball. You can do all sorts of things without actually participating, just being a spectator at all. You could love WWE without being in the ring.
Without wrestling.
Like,
Ryan.
It's very don't call out the boss.
Subtweeted.
No, it again, like, just an absolutely ridiculous argument that I was very surprised to see at all coming from a community where story is what compels us and characters are what compels us, and the idea that you would be closed off to a group of people, and it just seems very antsy D&D to me. So.
And it seems more stranger even to me in this world where we find ourselves, where we have D&D streams for entertainment.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot of time and effort and money put into the being able to show people playing D&D to other people for enjoyment.
Yeah, I think the kind of anger that someone might feel, it comes from D&D. It's not mine anymore, it can be anybody's.
It's not just mine.
It's not just mine. I think
mine
that's where
anymore.
That kind of frustration stems from, and like, it's no fault of them. It's just very close-minded, and you just have to educate in order, hopefully, to resolve that. But anyway.
All right, another question. How long have you been creating fan art for? Did it start with CTeam? I'm assuming you were drawing long before that.
I've been drawing since I could write, I think, but never really focused. There's a lot of doodles and such. I only got really popular recently because of the CTeam and because of how available the cast is, especially on social media. But drawing for a long time, like if I had to pick an age, probably like 4 or 5. It's something that you continue to grow at and get better at. So I'm still getting there, I think. I
mean, I want to say, from the first piece I ever saw you put out to the stuff you're putting out recently, even the most recent sketch of kind of like the I guess the CTeam of CTeam characters, I've seen in my, stupid, I don't know anything about art opinions on thing, an evolution in your style, and it's been a delight to watch.
Now, Air, we just had a discussion about how looking at something doesn't mean you're any less than the person involved in it. So I think your opinions are just as valid.
Oh, thank you, Jerika. Way to use my argument against me. Are you sure you're not a philosophy major?
No, no.
To maybe jump off of the questions for a moment, Nurse, what do you feel like? There's always like that one piece that you're like, oh my gosh, how is this like so popular? What was that piece for you that got so much buzz and feedback that stands out in your memory?
The one that really stands out to me right now is the comic with Rosie and Dinar. There's like 4 pages. I wasn't expecting that one to get as popular as it was, but then there's always like one-off ones, like the formal wear, the black tie cast. Yes. I didn't think
that was so popular. Fun.
The California Beach convertible one got really popular. And then also just like some of the sketch dumps that I do on the one-offs, not like something that's absolutely not finished in any capacity, really just thoughts on a page doodled out. Those get wildly popular only because most of the time they're jokes, so people enjoy them. But yeah, if I had to really say one that I'm really surprised at, it would be the comic with Rosie and Dinar at Scala before the match. So.
There were so many feels there.
Mm-hmm.
That's for a show that is like they've got a very tongue-in-cheek, very silly sense about the game. But when they have those kind of more tender, intimate moments, it's kind of like you're just waiting for the next punchline to come up. But that's the thing, you really zone in on the heart of this matriarchal figure, prepping this secretly sad boy for honor combat in his hometown. Like it made me feel things that I did not feel when I was listening to the episode, just by the way you frame it and the way you have the dialogue be kind of portioned out in the comic framing. It rang as more heartfelt than when I was even listening to it.
I think a lot of that has to do with timing. Storytelling has a lot more to do with timing than anything. And I was never a comic fan. I never, went to the comic book store and bought stuff and, lorded over comics for hours. I was always a movie person and an anime person. So that's one of the reasons why some of those comics are framed that way, as screenshots of a movie, because that's how I see it in my head. And so it's me just drawing what I'm seeing and timing it as I see most compelling. But that being said, I've honed in on those moments because they're really the most relatable part. As relatable as you can get, they're very human. And I think that's why people enjoy them so much. They get that feels attack. I heard that.
That feels attack. I like that's very apt.
It is.
For one of the comics with Chris and Dinar, it's still his favorite, where Chris was really recently injured and blinded, and I had just made a one-off moment because I thought that they deserved it, where Dinar is tending to Cathris's eyes, and they just it didn't even happen in the game per se, but I thought that they deserve to have something a little bit more human after losing an ability like sight. So
Yeah.
And that is the comic that sort of paves the way with my relationship with Ryan creatively.
Yeah, we wanted to ask you a little bit about that, so let us do that now. You've done some incredible collaborations with Samotep, Ryan Hartman from the cast, and then one that ended up as an official comic on Penny Arcade. How did these projects begin? If you want to start with the one you just mentioned, that seems good, or whichever one.
Okay, well, I think all of them, especially with Samotep, I think it's comes down to luck and visibility. I know Ryan had wanted a body pillow. Samotep could make a body pillow, and he just needed the art for it.
Did Sam Hotep offer this information, or did we find out about that after the?
He asked me. So Ryan had spoken on the table talk, saying, "Oh man, I really want a body pillow," just as a joke, which I think is the best. We take him real serious. So Samotep is able to print on fabric. So he messaged me one evening, and he was like, "Oh hey, I was wondering if I could just have that like Dinar art, like that full body art that you did a while back." I said, "What's this for, man?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to make a body pillow." I said, "Okay, stop right there." Because
what ended up being produced were 2 or 3.
I cranked it up to 1,000.
Like
That's awesome.
Full body pieces that were backs and fronts.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
it had to be like
the
super
scene
waifu,
from
like
really
really great.
To quote Amy T. Falcone, "Oh, Pillow Chris is hot."
Yeah.
Or Pillow Chris is hot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We had made the one for Ryan and thought, okay, here it comes, like they're on the table talk, here it is, and he loved it. And then we were like, we should have made some for the rest of the cast too. So between November and the that special like podcast stream that they did, we had made the extra like 4 or 5 pillows for Christmas. So and Cathris's one I'm especially proud of, only because like for me in my mind, Chris is the hardest one to impress, because I've been a big fan of his for a long time as well.
You might not be the only one who thinks that.
Oh yeah, so I was like, oh man, he might really want to hate this, or he might really want to just cast himself off a building.
I don't know if he can hate things.
No,
he doesn't seem like the type.
Very pleased with how he reacted to the pillows. But yeah, I really like that back and front Cutter's pillow. I wish there was more than one.
Is that would you say that's your favorite? I know that's always a hard question.
No, let me read from this card. No, Dinar is my favorite and the best, and Ryan is also my favorite and the best. Okay, I'll put that card away.
Gotcha.
They're all my favorite. I love all of them very much.
So did Ryan approach you for the, let's call it epic, backstory comic that you produced with him.
Not necessarily. I met Ryan for the first time at TwitchCon last year in October, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, please help me on my story." I said, "Okay, I'll help in whatever capacity I can." And then by January this year, for like what was it, PAX South, I had been going over some of the notes, and I thought, I know how to start this story, or I know how I think I want to start this story. And as an argument for my version of the prologue, I came up with that comic. And so I made it during the days he was at PAX South, and by the Sunday night of PAX South, I delivered it to him, and he thought it was awesome. And I suspect he showed Jerry, within the day or two of that, because they were asking me already to just finish it so that they could post it online. So I said, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that was really crazy. Ryan had very little to do with the writing of that story, or of that comic. Mostly the inspiration for it. Really, I organized it and wrote it completely independently. Showed it to him. Wow. He said it was fantastic. We changed very little in the way of dialogue. I think we only changed one line. So it was very, very, very fun. Still crazy to think about. Still appreciate that people remember that comic. I think it's ironic, but also appropriate that some people have forgotten about it. So, but
yes,
yeah,
indeed.
That's how it started.
So, what is it about Dinar and his story that's hooked you and makes you want to continue to draw it?
I thought Dinar was pretty fascinating from the start of the CTeam. Rambunctious, dumb teenage kid. We didn't really know anything about. And so when Cthulhu was injured and lost his sight, I thought, okay, I want to make like a real down-to-earth, real like human moment between this character we don't know anything about and Cthulhu. So I did that, and then that's really the thing that Ryan hooked onto before asking me to participate in his story. But yeah, it's mostly the mystery of it. I think it seemed obvious to me from the start that he was hiding something, and so it was fun to think about what it was that he might have been hiding, be it tragic or funny. Like I think I did like a fan fiction of what I thought was what had happened in Dinar's backstory. It was about it was the idea that he's addicted to gambling. And
it flows so well.
And that he gambled his title away, and that's why he's exiled. He mistakenly gambled his title and lost as a Prince of Dinar, awesome. So he had to self-exile himself. I thought that was really funny. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
But it could totally fit with the story.
But it totally could, wouldn't it?
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, there's a mystery to him, and also, a secret. And maybe a bit of like a sadness to him as well. So that's why I find him really compelling.
Does it still grip you as hard as it did?
Oh yeah, I believe that it does. I want to do nothing else but to work on that story and participate in it and be really in it. It's very hard to wait for it to be finished, but you can't rush Mr. Hartman's greatness. So.
I mean, I agree that there's a lot of mystery in the CTeam characters, and it's hard to be patient, but they are all master storytellers, and they know that the payoff is going to be better at the table.
I believe that, yeah.
I recently saw your post with the really, really cool Dragonborn character designs. You had 2 sets. They were so awesome. They were all so distinct. Each of them had their own distinct horns and look about them, but somehow they were all really relatable looking, even though they were all Dragonborn. And I was completely overcome with a sense that you have a really good approach to character design. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about
sure.
How you individualize characters.
I think I think that when it comes to D&D, at least, just from looking at things like the covers of their books, I think we forget that even though it's a fantasy world, there's no reason that that fantasy world couldn't look a little bit more like ours. People from all over the world look different. People are different heights. People dress differently based on their climate. People have different skin color, different voices, different hair. So when I go into a character, I have to think about where they might be from. So I have a map of Faerun also and think, okay, what would someone from the eastern part of this globe look like? What would someone from the west or the north or the south look like? That's why I really am pleased with Chult in one of the recent additions to D&D, because it really is like another world, and I'm very glad that they added like a type of like bizarre sort of Arabian desert tropical kind of climate. I thought it was fantastic. But I start from where that person might be from, and then think about what a regular day would be like if they woke up in the morning and they had to put something on and get to work, whatever that work might be. So for those Dragonborn characters, they're from the mountains. So what would you wear in the mountains? Something thick, like a fur coat, or like thick coats. So, it all comes from where you're from. Like someone from England wouldn't be used to weather in California or Greece because they're different climates. They wear different things. And that informs it all as well, I think.
Is there a character design that you struggled with that wasn't seem to be coming to you?
Oh, that's a good one. For a while, I'm still having. I mean, you could probably call it any character. Every single character, I think, have been a little bit more difficult than others. A lot of the times I just copy whatever Chris did, or expand on it. But
with that high def touch on.
Yeah, but Profa is still really difficult for me. Some of the like Doldroma, like we mentioned earlier, like I might even revisit that Carver goal is still really difficult. Some of the ones that I can remember the most are the ones that were easy. Like Dinar was easy, Nalayan's easy, Cathris is easy. Their characters are so well done that you can't help but just have an image, or at least I can't help but just have an image that comes to mind. So like for Nalayan, like this ancient elven person, like I immediately thought, like she, like what in the show she appeared and immediately killed Cathris and Dinar. Just fantastic. So like I immediately imagined like a really powerful Black woman, like Beyonce status, like I ain't playing with you. I don't got time for that. Like, get out of my way. Like, fierce. So it was very easy for me to see her, for Carver Goal, like, is a little bit harder because I'd never drawn an Illithid before. But you have to imagine he's from the Underdark, which is, damp and dreary, and there's all sorts of obstacles traversing it. So, like, and he's a druid. And so I'm like, okay, well, elven druids, any druids from on the surface, they tend to dress into their environment. So I thought, Carver Goal should, like, be ninja-like. It's dark down there. And so what's a real-world example of, like, a ninja? I'm like, techwear. Urban techwear is a perfect example. And techwear also has the advantage of being very weather-wise. So, it's damp down there, so it's all waterproof. It's layered. It's, black. You can shift into the environment.
Very functional, but at the same time, very believable.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm looking at your recent piece with Odola's father, Gordon, Nalayan, Carver, Gall, and Fen. And I think Nalayan's outfit almost portrays like her power because she doesn't have armor.
No.
But
she doesn't need it. You don't need it, people.
She can still get you.
Yeah, you don't need
It's almost
armor.
like you're not even worth...
Character.
protecting myself against.
Mm.
I love it so much. Anyway.
Yeah, no,
Excuse me
it
while I
comes
gush.
from, it also, I think for me, it comes from like really being really tired of like the Tolkien designs, because I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love Lord of the Rings and all of that, and if you watch the behind the scenes of their costumers, they'll tell you to detail like, oh, it would be weathered here because he's, running around doing this. Oh, it wouldn't look pristine. And they have like rationales for why a costume looks like that. And because I'm a woman on the internet, I need to have rationales for why my drawings look the way they do sometimes. But yeah, it comes from just being exhausted with really overused ideas. And if I have an opportunity and a voice to introduce a new idea, then I don't think I should hold back. So that's why I had said you don't need armor to be powerful or compelling or endearing or anything like that. You just need to have a character, and that's it.
Really,
I think you're
amazing.
a master at it.
But I will say that your fashion is incredible.
Oh, thank you. I myself do not have any kind of fashion sense whatsoever. I'm very functional, but that doesn't mean I can't draw it the way I want.
Well, that's what happens when you wear scrubs all the time.
Oh yeah, but it's great. I love the simplicity of it. It's immediately professional. People around you take you very seriously when you're wearing scrubs. It's awesome.
I would always go from scrubs to pajamas, and that was about all I
Exactly.
lived in.
Oh yeah, it's the best. It makes finding other clothes very difficult.
Yes.
But yeah.
I think we should get a little bit, just a touch
worries.
into philosophy.
Oh my
before
gosh.
we go.
Gosh.
Don't even get me started.
We could do the classic D&D philosophy questions.
Sure, go ahead.
In a world where there is
In a world
where there is objective morality and objective proof that there is the existence of divinity, does being agnostic or an atheist even make sense? Discuss.
I think it's fine.
I do too. I think
You can do what you want. It's your character.
I've always thought it's not about like the gods exist. It's not that I don't it's not lack of faith in their existence. It's lack of faith in that they have, the best
answer.
intentions or the answers I'm seeking or whatever.
It's very Cathris of you to say that.
No, and I like I really love that Chris brought it up during the stream too, and it goes back to one of my comics. Shout out to me. But
Perpetual. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
like I made a comic of Cathris and confronting the god of meat and mouths. Oh, that's a design I'm very unhappy about, and I'd like to revisit Meat and Mouths because we don't have a face for him. We have a voice for him, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So originally I drew a child, a really famished child, because I thought it would be interesting to see someone always hungry. I'm like, well, what does that kind of person look like? So, but no, the idea that these gods would be wanting for anything at all, for power, for love, for anything, it's all very mortal. So I wanted to encapsulate that in a comic that because I think it's easy for me to listen to Chris and Jerry talk, but it can be like really difficult, I think, most of the time. So if there's a way for me to make it so that people understand an idea a little bit better, I wanted to do that in a comic. Like, this is what Chris is saying when he thinks that God's doing these things is ridiculous and not worth worshiping. Like that's why he loves the Earth so much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I see gods in D&D a lot like the Greek pantheon,
Yeah, exactly.
where it's people trying to understand things they don't understand by making it the purview of just a human, but slightly more powerful, or a lot more powerful. But the Greek gods were subject to lust and greed and all these other
And
negative emotions.
Anger,
Um,
and lust.
And
It's like,
that
I'll
made
cheat on
and
you
lust.
with this person. Oh, I'll
And
go
it
steal
made
this
them
person away.
very human and very relatable and very interesting to tell stories about, that's for sure. But does it make them worthy of worship?
Actually, that's one thing that I can say. Like when I think about like the or whatever, it's like an Aristotelian thing. He's looking for the unmoved mover. He's looking for
It's absolutely
the
Aristotle.
first principle. Yeah. And that is a very interesting thing. Because even Meat and Mouths, like even though it's this, seventh plus dimensional creature that doesn't really have physicality beyond whatever it needs to instantiate in order to meet its needs, the whole Lovecraftian kind of thing. The is,
It's like absolute. It's like the form of
pure
this
causality.
thing,
Like how do you even begin to try to depict it? That was one of the things with the CTeam. Was like, man, I'm always getting tripped up on trying to understand what Jerry's saying because his descriptions are so esoteric. And then I was like, it's because every bloody thing he's describing is esoteric.
Yeah.
He's trying to describe non-physical reality all the time. I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
that's tricky.
but even when he's describing physical things, he doesn't really describe them.
Yeah,
let me tell
yeah.
you. Like my favorite is Mendes Vale. Is a man walked in, and that's it.
Yeah,
That's all we got, and nobody asked like, is he tall? What does he look like? What is his skin color? What is he wearing?
My favorite Jerryism is when he's like, it's like, this idiosyncratic experience that maybe 5 people have ever experienced? It's like that. Yeah, I love it.
A recent
I
one,
hate it.
the Albie one, I love so much. So in the recent Paxos Halloween special, spoilers, he describes Albie, the AI mail carrier, as like a space rocket. And you're like, okay, what are you trying to tell me here? Does she go to
she looks
space
like a
a
Tesla?
lot? Is she huge? And they actually at the table got into that a little, where it isn't. They
not
tossed
helpful.
around.
It's not
Right. It's not useful.
Catch that.
But,
Yeah,
I think it was supposed to be that she was strong and big and substantial, but it devolved into the fact that, like, she was also made of metal and also extremely large and full of fuel.
Yeah, no, that was like
Interesting.
it was like one of my very first misunderstandings with Jerry. There's a reason why Audra Courtier looks the way she does, is because when they were coming out of the test market or whatever, and he was describing somebody with chestnut skin, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Audra's like this black lady. That's great. I love it. And it turns out he was describing Albie, the mail carrier. I was like, what? He was like, oh yeah, Audra has like porcelain skin or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, I'm already halfway done with this comic. Can I just send it to you and you can tell me if it's okay or not? And he was like, sure, send it to me. And he was like, oh yeah, that's fine. So that's why Audra's black.
I really like your
love it.
Audra character design.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
too bad, Jerry Holkins.
know.
Nah.
It's our
To his-
world now.
To
Yeah.
his credit, he did give it to me. So I'm very, very happy with that because, yeah, why not? I thought it was cool.
Nurse, do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
Oh, you can just,
You're not going to do it. We will.
Yeah, just on my Twitter is fine at nurse_normal. That's cool. Whatever.
And if you go there, you will find amazingly beautiful art.
Oh, thank you. I know
Yay.
I should make like a website or something.
It's up to you.
Yeah,
No
it
pressure.
is. You're right. It is up to me. I won't make it.
Yeah.
Anywhere we can consume
That's
your
acceptable.
contents,
Oh yeah, Twitter's just fine.
not just brain contents.
Why would you even
No one
say
hears
that?
it with it.
I
Here's
mean,
another.
This has all been fantastic, and I'd like to thank you guys again for having me.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you so much it's been awesome chatting with you.
anytime. And anytime that you, Aaron, and Jerry want to sit down with some scotch and discuss more of this, I will bring popcorn.
I think like I think Critical Role has like a breakdown show.
Yeah, they have.
I would love to see like a CTeam breakdown show with Nurse Air and Jerry. Anyway. Anyway.
It's canon now.
Chats.
Anyway. Air's like, Okay, so thank you all for listening to this episode of Insight Check. We have all of our other people to thank, but first we will ask you to leave us a review on iTunes. You can also find us on Podbean. You can find us on SoundCloud. We might have more than one episode up there. Maybe not, but we'll see. You tell us. You go see and tell us.
I believe on the Yup Tubs, too.
Yes, we're on the YouTube, and we're on Google Music, whatever that brand is,
Wherever you get your
and the
podcasts.
iTunes. Yeah, wherever you can find those good podcasts.
Wherever quality podcasts are down.
Indeed. So, isn't that exciting? We would also like to thank Vince Vept for our intro and outro music called Never Stand Alone. It's a great tune, a bopper. And we'd also like to thank Amy T. Falcone for our beautiful social branding and our faces. Thanks, Amy.
Answering your cues from our collective A's. This
was
Insight.
Check.
Yay! Got it in one.
Gosh, she's smart and talented.
Good.
total package.
Y'all were just basically giving that one to me.
Am I going to do the thing?
Do the thing.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to do the thing, Cupcake? You can do the thing.
No, it's fine.
No, I now I want you to do the thing. Please do the thing.
Nobody wants my air. Nobody wants my air.
I'm just waiting for what the thing is.